Hey folks, welcome to verifiedinvesting.com. My name is Gareth Soloway, Chief Market Strategist here. In today's video, we're going to deep dive into the Tesla chart. Is it bullish? Is it bearish? Where are the buy levels? Where are the sell levels? Let's dive right in. All right, right to the chart of Tesla we go. Tesla today is trading slightly higher. What you're viewing here is the daily chart. So each candle is 1 day long. This is the day today, slightly higher. Look at the great move to the upside here for the last 4 days. In fact, 4 days ago, Tesla was trading at $320. It is now trading at $353. That's about a 10% move up just in the last few days. Now, if we look at the chart, let's start out with the near term. Right off the bat, what I'm seeing here on the near term is a beautiful little wedge pattern, and we have broken the wedge, which explains why we bottomed out recently where we did. Take a look at this, guys. And this is one of the key points to technical analysis, right? So you have this high, goes through this high, connects through this high here on July 21st. And then notice how price broke out, closed above, then confirmed the breakout. So this was a confirmed breakout. What does confirmation mean? When you confirm a breakout, it means that if price retraces back to the trend line, it is a strong buyable level. And that's exactly what happened here on Tesla. So you can see how Tesla retraced back into that level and then shot higher like a springboard. And that's, again, a great example of a breakout and what we call a retrace to the scene of the crime where the breakout trend line was. All right, so that's first and foremost. Secondly, you can see the underbelly here, a pretty obvious trend line as well. This one has not been tested yet. And again, you can see over here, and I should say tested since it broke out because it did hit. So it starts back in May, connects through the lows in June, the lows in July, and the lows in August. All of those levels holding. So basically what this was forming over the last 3 months or so, 4 months even, was what we would refer to as a wedge pattern. Why wedge? Because essentially this forms a wedge. And price, when you form a wedge, you have the biggest up move and the biggest down move first, then smaller and smaller and smaller. And essentially this works as what we would call a kind of a pressure cooker, right? And so the idea is that when you break out, it usually is a pretty significant move to the upside. So based on this, I would generally say Tesla is not done going up just yet. That's not to say it can't have a small pullback. I mean, this is a big move in just a few days. So you might get a check back to like 340 to 345. But I would think it's headed probably to the high here at around 367 before it meets significant resistance. All right. So again, just want you monitoring that level. But the near-term bias, I always in these videos, by the way, I always try and give near-term bias and then long-term bias. And near-term bias, remember, it's not my personal bias. It's what are the charts telling us? So what is probability showing us? And in the near term, probability is showing us while it may pull back a little bit in the near term, the chart obviously has broken out of a wedge. It should move higher over the next 1 to 2 to 3 weeks, right? And that would be my near term price analysis. Okay, so that's your near term. Now, let's go to the bigger picture. Where are we on the bigger picture? And what we do see again is that this is that near-term target of around 367. There will be additional resistance if it pushes to about 378, this underbelly here. So again, 367 to 378, I would say is going to be significant, I repeat, significant resistance on Tesla. Now, it's not to say it can't break there, but that's going to be a battle between the bulls and the bears. Now, again, if we can get above that level there, we start saying, okay, well, what else do we have? And if we zoom out on the chart, this is really interesting here, folks. You can actually make a case for a parallel channel. Look at this. And these are your long-term levels, right? And look at this right up here. So you have your parallel trend line that connects the previous all-time high from the 2021 bull market to the high recently in December 2024. And then look at this. It connects through the lows of March 2020, which was the COVID low, to the low in 2023 and the low in 2024. And what this does is if we were to get a massive move up on Tesla, it gives us a massive resistance level to the point where this literally was the cycle high here in 2021 and the cycle here in 2024 before a massive correction. So if Tesla ever gets up to that $500+ level, it likely would become a big pullback candidate there. And then vice versa, if at some point in the future, let's say we go into a bear market, the stock market collapses 20, 30, 40%, Tesla would then become a buyable level down here, currently sitting at around $178 to $180. All right. Now, again, in between there, do you have bounce levels? Sure, there's going to be a lot of support here at 220 right here. And then vice versa, like I said, you have your zone of resistance right all the way in this range, right? So, basically we talked about this 367 to 378 to 379 right in there. So this is resistance here. If that breaks, you'll have a little resistance around 438, and then really your high end of the parallel comes into play. On the downside, if we come down, let's just say, we go into this short term, let's say 375-ish area, we get rejected and we come down, support will be the bottom area of this trend line, which has acted as support previously at around 308. Then a breakdown of that would yield about 218, and then ultimately that 180-ish level to the downside. So listen, mid to longer term, as of now, as long as price stays above this trend line, I would give it the benefit of the doubt. So yes, you probably expect a pretty significant pull off 367 to 378 at 79. But ultimately, as long as it stays in this pattern, you could actually be looking for even further upside in the mid to longer term here, as long as the stock market doesn't stutter and fall to the downside. Again, on Tesla, what you don't want to happen is this trend line break here at around that 307, 308 level. If that happens, then I start to get worried we're going down to the low 220s. All right. So again, just always want to go into it, but suffice it to say, the Tesla chart actually looks okay right now. I'm not a buyer here, just to be clear, because of number one, it's had a 10% rally in the last 4 days. I never chase moves to the upside, but on a pullback, would I be a buyer? Potentially I would. I would reevaluate, especially since the near term and midterm bias remains to the upside. All right. Thanks as always, folks, for tuning in. As always, I try to give you unbiased, no BS, just chart probabilities. You guys have a great day. Come visit us at verifiedinvesting.com. Take care.